Are you ready?
I'm ready. What's up? We are here to talk about a show that we really care about, bro. No, we usually say that sarcastically.
No,
this is the Super Bowl.
Well, it's the world title.
This is the world title.
It scares. I'm so sorry, Terry Hatton. It scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah, it's super terrifying. It's like when you hear Brian talk about events, very often he'll say like, "This is something I wanted to do but never got to do." This seems like in meetings of like the Shaw team,
right?
He got a yes from everyone on all of those. I wish I got to do this ideas.
There should have been maybe a no or two. like he woke up from a fever dream, like this is it, and then put down the world's most aggressive. show.
Like the guy who was 6'8", 470, the most durable human on the planet
ever,
designed the 8 heaviest events ever.
Yeah. And we will find out who the strongest is.
We are. It's awesome.
That's the reality.
But yeah, it's equally honestly, even last year, the last 5 or 6 weeks of training, half the sessions I was scared to do it.
Dude, I remember I literally have to talk you through some of your accessories.
I was
like, I don't want to do this.
I don't think I can. I don't think this stone session is safe. I don't think we should do this. And this year is so much worse.
And now the problem is, I agree.
And last year I didn't do Worlds, so I had a huge lead in. This year I have Worlds.
You know, straight up, I don't know.
The schedule's tight. It's too tight.
If there's a show that we're gonna drop next year out of the big 4, it's Worlds.
It has to be,
because for a myriad of reasons we'll maybe talk about.
But it's also like, you know, this is the first year potentially doing all the big 4, more than likely, unless like Rogue does something weird. I need to really take a good audit of how my body feels doing Arnold, 10 weeks Worlds, 12 weeks Shaw, 8 weeks Rogue. Like if that's doesn't feel like a sustainable model, we can't just keep doing it, because I don't want to be another guy that has a 4-year career. No,
and then at the end of the day, you will drop the show that's the least important, which, if we're being honest, is World's Strongest Man.
Yeah,
funny enough,
of those 4 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they're not announcing events. They're not like,
there's a laundry list of reasons.
And that's
maybe we'll talk about one day, maybe we won't, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but it's not the important show.
No, but I'm training really hard for it, and I want to win it. But yeah, no, this is the Super Bowl.
It's crazy that our prep just turned into the World's. Yeah, we're gonna go do Worlds, but it's really just our midway prep now for Strongest Man on Earth.
This is GPP block for Strongest Man on Earth.
It really is.
What's cool though is there is actually some overlap. Oh, I can't even say that. That's stupid.
There might be
some overlap between Strongest Man on Earth and World's Strongest Man.
Right.
It's like we're doing the light version and then the really hard version later.
Right.
So it's not completely useless training.
No, it's not.
We need to add in a few things. So I think first we should go through the events.
Yes, through the events.
And I think a lot of people have done commentary on the events already. We'll do a little bit of our own, but I think what the main theme of this video, and nobody's done yet, is there's 8 guys invited right now.
Right.
There's 16 guys total. Brian has had a pretty rigid invite system that he's outlined, but given that the only invite show left is Worlds, a lot of these are going to be invites.
Yep.
So
we're gonna say who we think should be there,
should be there, who has an option with Worlds coming up. There's some other shows that should have some influence in our opinion, whether they matter to Brian or not. Who knows? But yeah, that'll be fun. So let's go through the events.
All right, the events. Now, this isn't necessarily the order that it's in, but it's the order in which they told us.
The way that he announced it, it sounds like a great show in that order.
Yeah, and it probably will be. So first event, Max Log, super duper cool. Incoming world record.
I want to try the world record.
We're going to go for it.
Yes. I don't want it to be owned by someone that just does log.
No. It should be by a strongman.
Yes. Someone who does full shows.
I agree. Second event, least listed, keg toss for max weight to 15 feet. Really cool.
So if I win the log, it'll be the most useless event for me to get to go last on.
Yes, because you're about to get mushed.
Yeah. If we get top 10, we're killing the game.
Dude, if you take top 10, Hooper, watch out.
Yeah,
watch out, brother.
If I get out at like 70, just double birds to the crowd.
right.
It's like, yeah.
He got 5 points.
Thor takes it to 110.
Right. Third event, frame carry into arm over arm. Really cool event.
I cannot get away from arm over arm.
No,
That's like, Brian asked me what I thought of the show. It was like, first thing I said is like, I can't get away from arm over arm.
Yeah.
It's a good event, but I'm not good at it.
No, I mean, tell you what though, the universe is making you good at it.
Yeah,
because you have gotten better.
I have to train it.
Yeah,
we're training it now for some reason.
Just for some other reasons, it's fine. But we are training arm over arm.
Yeah, we're training arm over arm as a prelude to Strongest Man on Earth.
Hey, World's Strongest Man, just a GPP block, baby. That's all that it is, apparently.
Yes.
4th event, Manhood Stones, and they even used you as the image for it. Look at that.
Yeah. The image they used, if you want to know not how to do your final extension,
Watch that.
see, look at my heels and look at my hips. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that shit. But you got it.
I got it. I got the
So Manhood Stones, probably the exact same weight, same style.
same weights. And I just goal on that would be just go 1 stone heavier.
Yeah, let's
we wanted the 550 last year. It just wasn't the smart move.
No, it wouldn't have been.
But getting in that 550 pack, I think, is a great goal for this year.
I'll probably put you top 3, top 4 again.
Yeah.
Right. What's it? The event after that, assumedly so, or presumably so, I should say. This max trap bar deadlift.
The most ignorant display of just grit.
I'm going to give my opinions on this later, but yeah, the winning weight will be over 600 kilos unless people make deals. So just anticipate that.
Yeah.
Ignorant and heavy. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see
honestly,
here.
Me as being a squat dominant person, it's like, what deadlift variation can I win?
It's that one.
It's that one.
Yeah, totally.
Is it going to be worth it?
Probably not.
It's like you just took 1320. The next jump is 1400. I don't want to do it.
Can your AC joints hold on to that?
Yeah.
Right?
It's a risky ask.
And then the following event is a max yoke.
Yeah, so this might be the only issue with this order.
Right. If it is this order.
Yeah, so we would just like go full spinal compression for 2 events.
Right.
Yeah,
not ideal.
Independently, I've been both excited for the trap bar and for the yoke, but putting them together is
That's a
ignorant thing to do.
It's a nightmare.
It's going to be fun, but it's going to be really, really hard.
Yeah, so for yoke, for those that don't know, it's going to be rounds, ascending weight. You know how it goes.
Yes. So
we could all assume 50 feet.
I think
he might go 5 meters.
Go shorter. I think he goes shorter.
He might go 5 meters for big weight.
Yeah.
Which is more scary.
I'd rather,
in my opinion.
I think maybe I misheard, but I think he said he's not going to go as heavy as the bale tote. So if it's in like the 1300 range.
How is that even possible?
Huh?
Well, he's going to do rounds.
Well, I know. So I think it'd be like 1,000, 1,200, 1,400 or something.
And you think he'll just shut it down?
I don't know. I hope. Or
I think he's assuming it's not going to get that heavy. I think he's wrong.
Oh, well, then we'll keep going.
Yeah, that's what I
don't know. Because if it's under 1,500 pounds, I'd like 30 or 40 feet.
Sure.
If it's like 1,400 or more, yeah, let's go down to that 5 meter.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we don't know the distance yet, but we're assuming. Standing chest press. This is where I'm just like, I don't like it at all. I don't like this event at all.
I like it.
I think it's so boring. I think it looks stupid.
It's cool as hell.
It's just
you don't like the leg press either, and I like the leg press.
No, I leg press is fine. I was
Why
fine
is it
with the leg
different?
press.
It's
Because
not different.
It is different. One, there's a car. At least it looks freaking cool.
The kegs is pretty sick.
It's just one of those things where like I don't watch Strongman to watch people bench. I watch Strongman because I like weird stuff being put overhead. I like that.
I think anything that tests who's the strongest in a given thing is a strongman event.
And that's fine. Oh, I'm not saying it's not a strongman event.
Typically overhead.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of fun.
I'm not saying it's not strongman. I'm just saying it's boring. It bores me to tears.
I love it.
I think it's
a fun side quest because I've been anti-bench press for so long. It's like we got to go back to it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. To me, nothing about this excites me besides the fact of like, oh, you're gonna get stronger in a different way, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But like, I don't care about this event. We all know what it is. Ascending weight, kegs come down, and then an AMRAP on the last one, which I think is right around 550 in weight. Kind of.
I think it's heavier than that.
Is it heavier? So something.
And Brian
heavy.
was the only one that got more than one.
No, that's not true. Tom Evans won the event.
He won the event?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Tom Evans won the event. Brian got reps. And I want to say one other person got like a rep additionally.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Any hoozles. And then the last event, which is probably the most talked about online right now, is tire flip into power stairs. I love me some power stairs. I hate tire flip. Personally.
Yeah. It's
especially at the end of a show, because that will be the last event.
Yeah, I'd prefer the version of this event that has the finger fingers.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool combination.
Yeah.
I don't think those two events test too much different of a thing.
Sure.
Tire flip and it's the more back strong guy is going to do good on the tire flip.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they're that much different, and it's adding risk unnecessarily, maybe.
Yeah. So this is the thing. This is my opinion, basically, of the strongest men on earth. In my opinion, strongest man on earth is the true world title of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you win that show, you are the strongest strongman on the planet. I don't think there's any debate about that. I don't think any of the pros would debate that. It just is what it is. And that's really cool. And I think what Shaw is doing is he's filling the gap or the hole that World's Strongest Man is seemingly just leaving right now. They're leaving a window open because they have their own problems, right? Mm-hmm. So for a true test of finding out who the best strongman is, I think Brian's doing a great job. Caveat being, you're not as big as World's Strongest Man yet, right? There's just not enough eyes on your show yet. So the thing I think that legitimizes him is that he truly invites who are the actual best 16, and he picks events that are truly tests for who the actual strongest human is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, there's a very delicate balance that he has to walk here when it comes to pushing a little too much. Because if he does too much, I'm not saying he is now, but if he does do too much, the best in the world might just start saying no.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could be just way too dangerous.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, for example, Luke Richardson is a great strongman. I personally think he's top 16 in the world. He has outwardly already said no to doing this show.
Yeah,
He's like,
he wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't do it. Martins Lisis has already said, I would never do this show, right? And if that list keeps climbing, Charles going to put himself in a position where he's just like the weird freak show that really good guys are just too scared to
possible.
do. Yeah, that's a possibility. I don't think it will happen, but it is a legitimate thing that he has to think about.
And it's like, if you have the opportunity to do, like, let's say Fingles versus Tyre, you're adding risk for maybe no reason,
right? For maybe no reason.
Because it's interesting. It's a generational thing in strongman.
Mm-hmm.
Brian's generation and older, like you talk to Higa or Zach McCarley, all those guys, they love tire flip. They don't think tire flip's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
They do it for fun. They do it for conditioning. Football coaches of that era, it's like, let's do tire flips, like, and they don't see it as a dangerous thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's also a skill curve thing with the new generation of guys.
Sure,
they did it so much that they're good at it.
Yeah,
we don't do it.
No,
we just don't do it. So there's also a lack of skill, which, you know, the way to close that gap is to do it.
Practice, right?
But we got to do it some of us are going to do it for the first time
with the heaviest
on
possible
some ignorant
option.
tire that Brian's going to find.
Right. And the thing is, you know, you brought this up the other day. You said, because someone said to you that
it was actually Brian.
So it was Brian said to you, I believe, most people who tear their biceps in shows is due to tires being too thin and having really bad
too
tread,
heavy.
Right?
Yeah. So if in his opinion, that if a tire is thicker, so that you can actually drive the chest and shoulders into it, you get most of the work done with your body.
Right.
The arms just finish.
Right.
If it's thin enough that you have to do the transition with your arms, you tear.
Right.
And I think he is empirically correct.
Sure.
Because on a really big tire, I feel like it's way less risky. We have a little 500-pound tire in the back.
Yeah.
Whenever I have to move that,
that's the scariest
I get
one.
someone else.
Right.
Because I'm like, I just have to do this with my arms because it's so low.
Yeah, and I think I think everything he's saying is true in that regard. My fear for the contest is not his equipment. He will have the best equipment. It's everyone that has to train this event who won't have something as good as him.
There's just some 1,000-pound tire that's been sitting in the rain behind the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is, again, Brian's show is the world title. I don't care I will fight that point with anybody. However, if we're starting to push athletes to train in a way that could potentially injure the world's best before they even get to your show, is your show worth that?
Sure.
For some people, it might not be. For some people, it is.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm going to kind of, just for devil's advocate, kind of mirror the things that Brian and his team have literally been saying and responding in comments.
Yeah.
Every event has inherent risk.
Absolutely.
And it, like, just because it's risky doesn't mean we should throw it out forever. I think there is a legitimate argument to say at a certain point, the risk percentage is too high.
Yeah.
Let's leave this behind.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the sport is left tire behind. There's some people that even say fixed axle should be left behind.
Sure.
I'm almost in that camp.
I actually don't agree with that one, but I understand why.
Yeah.
And I
just don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Yeah. The thing is, when it comes to Brian's show, I think on a individual event scale, he's absolutely correct with that assessment. But we have to look at this as a totality package, right? And personally, you know what I'd rather.
Well, is there any bicep risk in the rest of the show? No. There's none. Unless,
from what I could tell,
I mean, Max is the only person ever to hurt himself on a frame.
No, stones are always stones, but like that is what it is. Do stones better, and you won't hurt your biceps. No, in terms of biceps, no. The show is pretty safe.
It's not like before this we're doing like flag hoist,
right?
Fixed axle for reps.
No. I think honestly, the thing that will be tested the most in terms of durability for the show, I anticipate a lot of pec tears, and not just because we had 3 the year that he did the press.
Sure,
but not just because of the press, because of the yoke. You have to get in a fixed position for a lot of guys. That stretches their pec, right? We've seen Graham Hicks tore his pec and bicep on a yoke, but before in a contest. And then we also will have the where is it?
I can't relate to that sensation.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty tight.
Yeah,
I don't ever feel a pec stretch on the yoke, but
for some guys.
I've heard that from some guys.
Yeah, so I'm actually far more worried about the pecs, and not only that. Think about the trap bar deadlift max. Where do you cramp on certain positions when you're doing a max deadlift?
I cramp in my pecs when I deadlift.
Most people do.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm actually very concerned for the pecs.
Sure. No, that's a fair point. And
So-
also there's certain athletes like us
Yeah.
that we're in the camp of most of the year we're not doing horizontal pressing.
Right.
So those tissues just aren't prepared to do this.
Right.
We must start now during Worlds Prep doing horizontal pressing.
Yeah.
Probably volume phase now.
Well, basically the approach that we have to take is I'm not going to add years of mass to your pec tendons in how many weeks? 15, 16?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So what we basically have to do is make your shoulder capsule and the surrounding tissues massive.
Yeah.
Like, see, the amount of lateral raises, front raises, rear delts that you're going to end up doing in the next 20 weeks is gross because you have to build everything up around it.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to get your tendons thicker, but I will get everything else stronger.
Which there is a good base there. I was a, shot putter and a football player, and we were doing, and I also then did powerlifting. So I have there somewhere in there.
Yeah, big
there's
base.
12 years of very ballistic style reactive benching and also pause benching. I've done both to a lot.
Because you've benched what, 550?
525.
So
and that was in 2020. The last time I've ever benched was 520.
Big weight.
Yeah.
I know you've done something ridiculous with a slingshot once too, right?
I did a 700 something slingshot.
Just
And it
goofing
was
around.
like the 4th rep of the session.
Right. Just goofing.
Well, he was, because I think Mikey was like, it feels like your bones are bending under 700 pounds. And I was holding it. I was like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, equip lifting's for dorks.
Fair enough. So that's the show. Now, I've voiced all my concerns. You may think that I'm actually more negative on the show than I am positive. I'm really not.
I
so
actually positive.
At the end of the day,
this is gonna be sick.
This is awesome. I actually love this show. If I were to throw out one thing out there for the organizers, hey, maybe consider moving that tire. That's all that I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe consider. Like personally, I think they should replace it with a 500-pound Husafel. Move that 50 feet. Go into your power stairs.
Gross.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
But who cares what I think? That's just what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the little birdie when I'm like, 500-pound Husafel.
500-pound Husafel.
500-pound Husafel. It'd be cool. It'd be fun.
Cool. But no, I truly love this show. I think we're gonna find out who the absolute best is, and I like that there are events being pushed that we don't get to see normally, like a trap bar. That's cool, man. That's really cool.
What's kind of fun as we put this list together of the
about the
guys.
athletes
We'll start talking about guys.
Yeah.
So the guys that are confirmed. Well, is Thor actually confirmed?
No,
he's invited.
He's invited.
He is not confirmed.
Yes.
Which I guarantee he's waiting on a few things.
Yep.
But Hooper, myself, Thor, Trey, Andrade, Tom Stoltman, Max from North Americas.
Yep.
And then Josh Bergen from the amateur.
Yep.
Or the open, I guess is what he calls it.
Yes.
So 8 essentially confirmed, potentially 7 if Thor doesn't decide to do the show, and that's on him and Sebastian and his family to
For
decide.
argument's sake, let's say 8.
Yeah, and I can think a number of reasons why he might not, but that's not for us to discuss.
No, it's not for us.
Not.
Hopefully he comes. That'd be cool.
I really hope Thor comes because I think it's we don't get to really decide who the strongest in the world is if one of the guys from the podium last year
isn't there.
Right. Yeah. So I hope so. So as I was putting together this list, we went through the World's Strongest Man roster, and there's a lot of guys that are on the bubble of like if they make the final, and they have to. Some of the guys, it's like if they do well in the final,
right?
Like if you have a decent history, or you've been to Strongest Man on Earth before, but you've been on the bubble. I think if you make the final, you're probably going to get the nod.
Sure.
If you're like I've never gone to the other big 4, but I have to do well in the final. Like if you're like a Shane Flowers or an Evans Nana,
Rain O'Neill,
you must get like top 5, and then Brian will probably consider. And because the podium is going to get invited, I fully anticipate the podium is going to be dudes that are already invited.
Yep.
Give or take Luke Richardson and Evan Singleton.
Sure.
Right.
That's a fair guess.
That's my fair guess.
That's a fair guess.
So I don't think the podium is going to create more than one new guaranteed invite.
Potentially one.
And then in addition to Worlds, there's 2 other shows that are of note. Before
Three
other shows.
Well, 2 before the show, 1 after.
Sure.
Yeah.
But so for this calendar year.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is both of these shows will be done prior to Worlds. So we'll have, when Worlds finishes, the dust settles, Brian will have all the data needed. I don't know if he's looking at these 2 other shows. I hope so.
Well, tell him. Let's see what it is.
So the 2 shows is we've already covered Siberian Power Show.
Yep.
And I think the notable thing in there is you get to compare Mateus and Thor to 2 very, very good Russian athletes.
Yes.
That don't get out of Russia.
Yep.
And one very good Iranian athlete. And then I think there's one other Iranian that we wanted to mention.
Yes.
They may have visa issues getting to Strongest Man on Earth, but I think they should be considered.
Yeah.
And the second show is the weekend before World's Strongest Man, is Australia's Strongest Man.
Yes. Because there's 3 guys.
There's 3 guys that are legitimately world class that I don't think get the nod to go to things like Worlds.
Yeah, they're just far away.
It would be like a bit of a risk for Brian to invite those guys. They'd go from essentially local to
huge,
and one of them is doing Siberian Power Show, so we get a good comparison there.
Yeah.
So okay, I guess I just go through the list.
Yeah. Why don't you say who you think should be invited to the show, because we have our markings there.
Sure.
I'll say who I think, and then
who else is on the bubble?
Who's in the bubble? Yeah, we'll go from there. And honestly, we should probably say who we think should be the reserve too.
Okay. So who, based on what I think is going to happen at Worlds and those shows, this is my next 8.
Right.
So I marked Matt Ragg.
Okay.
I believe Bryce Johnson will do well enough at Worlds to make it. Eddie Williams.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't had a super deep. He doesn't competed a lot, but I think if Eddie is in like 6th or better at World's Strongest Man, which I think is totally possible, he could do it. Luke Stoltman, I think, is, regardless of Worlds, I think has the resume to justify.
Yeah.
I think Luke Richardson, being a regional title holder, regardless of Worlds, has the resume.
The regional being
the
Europe's.
Evan Singleton, I think, regardless of what he does at Worlds,
he should be invited.
He is a top 10 in the world, no doubt. Where were my other ones?
Yeah, Thomas Evans.
I had Thomas Evans. Sorry, this is, if you saw our notes, it's just a hilarious scribble on a whiteboard. I have Mateusz Kieliszkowski.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, I actually think this year Mateusz is a dependent on Worlds.
Okay.
I think he has to make the final, in my opinion.
Sure.
Which is weird because he has the most impressive resume of everyone on there.
By a mile.
He's just had a
rough 2 years.
Yeah, and I want to see Mateusz make it healthy to something like Strongest Man on Earth, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And then, so I listed 8 there.
Yeah, and then you have a couple.
So I have one more. So we know that Luke Richardson, at least in one interview, was like, I don't potentially want to do Strongest Man on Earth.
Right.
So I thought it was appropriate to list 9.
Mm-hmm.
I think if whoever, whether it's Jordan Osborne,
mm-hmm.
Shame, Dimitri, or Reza,
mm-hmm.
if any of those guys win or like get second at Siberian Power Show,
right,
I think they're totally of the quality.
So you're saying the highest ranking non-famous athlete at that show.
Highest ranking non-Thor and Mateusz.
Right, because if those guys come in 3rd, I think they should still go.
Yeah, no, because I think they are those guys, I think are of the quality or close.
Right.
And they can't get to World's Strongest Man. It is a risk because they can't get to things like international contests. But I think guys like Reza, Dimitri, Shame, and potentially some of those Australian guys
mm-hmm.
are of the quality. They just can't ever directly compare.
Sure.
And even like the Australian guys.
Yeah.
Eddie Williams hasn't done Australia's Strongest in a few years.
Yeah.
So they don't get to compare often.
Right.
They have all done Bisa Burden together.
Yes. Which is an oceanic title.
It's basically Oceanic title.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to add another oceanic show. The Pacific.
Yeah, you
Strongest.
mentioned it to me.
Yeah. Eddie was actually promoting it.
Oh,
so
okay.
That might be something to consider in future years. So that's my top 16.
Yeah.
I'm pretty comfortable with that, but there's a lot of guys left on the list that
who
if
would
they
you
just
say is a good reserve?
Good reserve from that list.
Before I go into mine,
I think my reserves are of everyone else. Whoever places the highest at Worlds.
Okay, so you think whoever plays the highest, non-invited, that's the reserve.
Non-invited, yeah.
Who do you think that could be?
Who do I think that could be? So other guys we have listed here, we have Shane Flowers, we have Tim Buck, we have Hoth, Rain O'Neill, Pavel Kordiaka,
mm-hmm.
Nick Gardione, Alexei Novikov, Evans Nana, Patty Haynes. If I had to say my most likely finalists,
probably Haynes, in my opinion.
You think so?
I think he'll make finals.
I think he will too.
Yeah.
I think there's one part of the not stone off that might hurt him.
The first part.
The first part of the not stone off.
Fuck. You're right. No, you're right. That's gonna kill his chance.
Reddit's gonna be pissed.
Yeah, they are. Once they find out, there's totally a stone off.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay. So just with my gut.
Yeah. What's your
gut?
I'm
gonna go Rain O'Neill and Tim Buck.
I love that for reserves.
Rain O'Neill and Tim Buck.
And that's exactly who I was gonna pick for reserves too.
Those two guys are not invited to Worlds.
Yeah.
I think they're the reserves. If I had to guess, Tim is training.
I think Tim
knows the events and is doing them.
He's the reserve.
I bet he is.
Yeah.
I'm not. Whatever.
Well, Reno's been invited. It's just not official.
It's just not officially invited.
Yeah.
And if
I'm
I
not
had to
supposed
guess,
know that.
two guys who are totally good enough to make the final: Tim Buck, Rain O'Neill.
Totally.
Any given day, Tim Buck can kick my ass and has kicked my ass.
Yeah. And well, the thing is, out of the two that you mentioned, Tim is actually strong enough to do well at Strongest Man on Earth.
Yeah.
Whereas Reno, I don't think has the strength that Tim has yet.
Sure. What it's like, there's this last batch of Americans out of OSG. So Bryce, Tim, and Nick.
Yeah.
Funny enough, Nick and Bryce are much statically stronger than Nick. So in the case
Tim and
sorry, did I say it wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Tim and Bryce
Yes.
are statically stronger than Nick.
Yes.
So on paper, they're better suited for something like Strongest Man on Earth.
I would agree.
Nick may do better than them at Worlds.
Right.
Right? Because Nick is so well-rounded.
Yes. Whereas for my picks, I'm going to pick, regardless of Worlds, what I think will happen, I want to pick who I think will be the best at a show like Shaw.
Okay. That's a fun way to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Because all shows aren't reflective of who will do best at the next one. You know what I mean?
Sure. Because it's like, we've seen people qualify out of the amateur shows that were not suited for the thing they qualified for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my picks, I have Bryce Johnson. I think no matter what, he should be invited because he's a freak.
Yep.
I have Luke Stoltman. I think he's earned it. I have Luke Richardson, even though I think he'll turn it down. And then I have Mateusz Kieliszkowski. And then I have...
You leaned hard into Russia.
Yeah, I do. And I'll justify it. And then I have Raymond Fahazad. I think I'm saying his last name right. Fahazamad, whatever.
Yeah. So he is another Iranian.
He's an Iranian. He just
recently beat Reza.
He just beat Reza in a show last week. What are you dorks?
Braden was trying to play the USSR.
Oh, were you?
National anthem. Well, he's about to announce 2 athletes.
Yeah, I'll get to it. So Raymond, for those that don't know, he's competed at Worlds before. He's done really well. He never made it out of the heats, but I think he is the type of athlete that would do really well at Strongest Man on Earth with his type of skill set.
Sure.
So I think you should be invited him out. And
he's just a way out of left field pick.
Yes,
because he's not even doing Siberia.
No.
So it's just like
people would think it's
dude
weird
who hasn't competed outside of the Middle East.
Right. But
I watched some YouTube videos.
We know his skill set. Yeah, we know his skill set though.
I would rather lean on Reza because Reza is leaving the country.
Totally agree.
Putting himself out there.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I get why people would. Either one, Reza or Raymond, I think should be invited. I just happen to pick Raymond because I think he would be better suited than Reza because Reza's pressing just isn't there yet. But whatever. Yep. My next pick, Dimitri, who I think, regardless, should be invited. You missed it, dude. Great. You have literally one job. No. Dimitri, I just think he has the skill set to do well. I really do. I think no matter what, he should be invited. He's just so good. And then my next pick is Shame, also out of Russia. Both of those guys, in my opinion, are because they're 1 and 2 in Russia. They go back and forth.
But unfortunately, I think what kills them in this show is the 2 presses are the 2 worst ways that those 2 guys could press.
That is true. Because normally,
if it was like dumbbell axle, those guys are going to crush.
They'd crush. But I still think they're the caliber, regardless, should be there.
Sure.
I truly believe that.
Like they're better than, at least in this last calendar year, like they would challenge. Like I mean, in the past, there's been like Ivar's less. Like look at the guys who were in the bottom 5
Kordiaka.
Last year. They really struggled with the show.
Yeah.
Maybe the skill set doesn't match the show.
Mm-hmm.
They may be a better fit of the skill set to the show.
I think they would have been better than some of those guys.
That's not saying that like Kordiaka or those guys are a bad strongman, but
no.
Like, this is a different kind of show, and like Kordiaka having abs at 300 pounds might be the wrong build to do a max yoke. I
agree. Yeah. I agree. And I just think that these 2 guys are incredible. So I think Raymond, Dimitri, Shame. And then my last pick was, I do believe that as of right now, at least that Beast of Burden show is basically the Oceanic title, right? Because of the caliber guys that show up. And we have Australia's Strongest Man coming up soon. There's 3 athletes that are competing there. Jordan Osborne, who's also doing Siberia, BJ Stone, and Josh Pacata.
I think it's Patica.
Patica. Okay, Patica. Josh Patica.
Massive dumbbell presser.
Bro, what did he just hit, a 315?
Like 311.
311 in the gym, casual.
Yeah.
So those 3 guys, and BJ Stone has hit like a 250 kilo behind the neck jerk.
Yeah, like he was joking around with me that he wanted to do a side quest to press more than all of us at the Arnold.
And he did.
And he totally can.
Yeah. So like those 3, and Jordan is just very well rounded.
Yeah. So
Out of those
Jordan
3,
has won Australia's Strongest Man twice.
Yes.
Patica has won it once.
Yeah, and I think
BJ has not won it yet.
I think he's been on podium, but I don't think he's won it.
BJ hasn't won it yet.
But he's great. Like they're all so out of those 3, whoever would do the best at Australia's coming up, I would say should be the next spot because all 3 are just
or at least
talented.
Considered for a reserve spot.
Considered for reserve at least, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my 8 or 9, whatever I picked.
It's
and then
so
for me, I think the first reserve should be. I had the same picks as you. I had Rain O'Neill and Tim Buck.
Yeah.
I think Tim should be number 1 on the reserve list, and then Rain O'Neill number 2.
Who was second in the amateur last year?
For what show?
For Strongest Man on Earth, or the
Nick Guadion.
So I could see that being considered to be a reserve.
Sure.
They didn't do that with Wes.
No.
They didn't invite,
or Lavallee.
They didn't invite Wes until he got to the finals of World's Strongest Man.
And he, in our opinion at least, is unjustifiably not invited to Worlds this year.
It doesn't make any sense in the world.
It's just bullshit.
Yes.
I'll just say for what it is.
It's
of not
all
right.
the guys not invited.
Right.
The only one where it's like, let's stand on the rooftops and say why.
Wes.
What do we even?
What are we even talking about?
Invite him to Worlds. I don't care who got like fifth at a giant somewhere.
No, and he was top 10 at Strongest Man on Earth. He is top 10 in the world.
With an injury,
Right.
he fought his way back to within points of the podium at North America's.
Multiple injuries.
He zeroed an event because he just hurt himself on the first stone.
Right.
Like, my bicep's not attached, and I'm still going to get fifth at North America's.
And then 2 weeks later, take top 10 in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
like, try to say Wes doesn't deserve to be there. It's bananas.
No. And of everyone on this list, who is the strongest 365 days a year with no prep? It's Wes.
Oh, yeah. He's gas station ready.
Yeah. None of us are gas station ready the way that Wes is. Actually, to be fair, the most gas station ready guy in this list is Mitch Hooper.
He doesn't count, man. He's special.
It's totally Hooper.
He's really good.
If you do 9 shows a year, you're not really prepping for anything.
He shows up just high and beats ass. He just he could show up high, I should say. I'm not saying he gets high.
No, he did say that's how he sleeps before shows now.
That's not my business.
Yeah, it's on his. He put it on his social media.
Yeah.
He shares a lot.
He does. Okay, so now that we have the the official top 8 and then our hypothetical, give us, how do you think the show's gonna go?
Oh man,
that's what people want to hear.
Given
right?
my top 8,
yeah,
I think the guys who will place higher than you think, like top 8, and going top 8 at Strongest Man on Earth, like at certain shows you get 7th, you're pissed.
Yeah,
you get 7th and your first Strongest Man on Earth,
you should be happy as hell.
Yeah. I think Bryce Johnson is a lock for top 8.
I agree.
There is one event that's going to make the big man breathe hard. Maybe two events where he's going to have to do some medleys. Because honestly,
but they're his type of medleys.
I just think back to the medley that finished North America's.
Yeah.
That, if I had to say just like heavy dynamic medleys, is actually a potential weakness. He's a garage gym guy.
Yeah, that's true.
But the other 6 events,
he's going to be so
murderer.
He's going to be so hard to beat.
Bryce Johnson. I don't think this is a good show for Mateus.
No.
I don't. I genuinely don't. Things like the bench press and, I mean, his strict power is probably as good as it's ever been working with JF.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, it doesn't match the skill set.
Plus with that Achilles tear, he's not going to do
the
good.
Yoke is going to be really scary for him.
Yeah.
I think that may be a consideration for Trey as well. Like, I feel for those guys. That's got to be scary to come from an Achilles to like, let's carry 1,400 pounds.
Right. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Because I'd say, like, if I would imagine if I was a guy like Trey or Mateus right now, I would be only afraid of 2 events: super heavy yoke and truck pull.
Sure.
Aside from that, it seems like Trey's ready to rock.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there's no truck pull, because that's like, you can't hide if they had a truck pull.
No.
I guess they could do the Bobby Thompson inside of the foot style.
Yeah. I've seen Nick do that too, actually.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I think of my additional 8, I think the only one where I'm like, that guy is going to be top 8 is Bryce Johnson.
You don't think? Let's say
if Tim Buck gets into the show, I think Tim Buck would get top 8.
I think so too. You don't think if he were to accept the invite, you think Luke Richardson would be top 8?
1,000,000%.
I think so too.
Luke is this cool combination of Giants Live typical speed quality.
He has
and he's static enough.
Right. Like, he has Giants Live fitness and then international strength.
Well, because you're like, what's the difference between like a Shane Flowers and Luke Richardson? You make it 10% heavier, the performance doesn't change. For Shane, it might. Right. Like, I'm not saying like these guys are weak.
No.
They're not. But like, Luke Richardson is one tier above.
He's uniquely strong.
Statically.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's the difference like a Patty Haynes. And
right. I was going to say Patty Haynes is a great example.
You see it in the States too. It's like, what's the difference between like Tim Buck and maybe Andrew Burton?
Sure.
2 or 3 degrees of static strength. It's just
Tim's just stronger.
And this is the show where the static strength is going to be rewarded.
Right. Right.
But you put them in like OSG, they're going to shake it up.
Totally.
So, what about, I don't know, what comes to your mind with your list?
I agree with you. I think Bryce Johnson, Tim Buck, and funny enough, I actually think Raymond. Those 3 would have the highest chance of being in the top 8.
Because I understand riding hard for Dimitri and Chame.
Yeah.
They're also slightly smaller strongmen.
Yes.
and I don't see them like showing up and crushing.
No, this year in particular, I think would be bad years for them. But like for example, the first 2 years, we had Novikov podium, the strongest man on earth, and he has very similar
those guys
qualities.
in a very similar category to each
they're
other.
kind of like peak Novikovs, those two. You know what I mean? Like fitness wise, they're real strong enough,
super technical,
aggressive.
Strongman is older than you probably realize.
Is he 33?
I don't know. You see, look at his trophy case. He's been competing a while.
He's been competing a while,
and he does arm wrestling. He does all kinds of stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
Also, fun side fact: he's one of the only people in the world to close the number 4 gripper.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
That's really
it's
cool.
one of his tagged videos or his pinned videos. He has closed a number 4.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't think people know. Like, if you look at who's officially closed it, I think it's just because he did it on Instagram in Russian.
Right.
That nobody knows, but he can close a 4.
That's wild.
He's got crazy grip.
That's a way to get Shaw to invite you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually do think someone like Reza could be top 8. Again,
he's just a massive man. He's built to do the frame.
Strong.
He's
big
just
and
Iranian Bryce Johnson.
Yeah, and he got them hands, dude. They have crazy grip
big
over there.
Ass dudes.
So
yeah. Who did we miss? Who did we not even mention? Is there somebody somewhere in the world that we didn't mention?
Novikov.
We did. I did.
Well,
I listed him in the guys that are on the bubble.
Did we? Okay.
He's in that list of like, how does he do at Worlds?
I don't think we're missing anyone that's truly near the top 16.
Are there any Canadians that are fringe?
James Jeffers. He needs 2 years.
But he's coming off of a long. He had a surgery. Took some time away.
I think James needs 2 years to be strong enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think Jeffers might be the next best American. Or
Canadian.
Not, Canadian. Sorry.
He's American now. He's on this team, brother. No, but I think
Gabe Reaume. I know he won Canada's, but I just don't.
I don't think he's strong.
I don't think he has the resume.
And he's
recently.
done the show. Funny enough.
Yeah, I don't think he has the resume recently to justify it.
Who else could we potentially?
But I could see Reaume winning North America's and finding his way in.
Right.
He could.
It's gonna be between him and Jeffers, I think.
Yeah. So who did we miss? Why are we wrong? If you are one of the people mentioned on this list, I know Shane Flowers is gonna like talk shit.
Shane, I love you, dude. You're cool.
Yeah.
You'll do so good in that throw event for realsies, though.
Yeah. And then the opening weight of vlog is your PR.
Hey, you be nice. We like Shane.
Like, you know, Brian's gonna do something ignorant, like the opening weight.
It's gonna be 180.
400 pounds.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, go fuck yourself. It's 180.
You don't get 365.
I got a question for you. What log would you rather see him use at the show? Because he's used 2 different logs in his show in the past.
Because initially he used
a
Slater, and then he switched to the Bartos.
They're
it's
not
a big
Bartos,
barrel
though.
Bartos.
I thought they were customs.
No, it's a big barrel.
Are
Bartos.
they actual Bartos?
Yes.
Okay.
The big barrel Bartos with custom end caps. If it isn't a Bartos, it's like he's like, that's a Bartos. Copy that.
Right. Well, that's what I think he did.
Yeah, but
anyway,
it feels the same.
It's the Bartos.
Yeah. I'm 1,000,000% convinced that I could press more on a Slater.
Okay.
Because it sits nicer on the chest.
Right.
Brian's logs are hard. And also this, people say Brian's logs are hard. I think it might not even be the log. It's we're doing it at 5,000 feet elevation, and a heavy thing on your chest is hard at 5,000 feet.
If you're not,
I don't even know if it's the log.
Yeah,
but we have no way to separate those 2 factors.
We just know that most people don't do well compared to their standard.
They underperform on log there
at his show.
And honestly, I could see that being a limiting factor.
Yeah,
the altitude destroyed me last year.
Yeah. Well, we're going early.
We're gotta go early.
We're going early.
Way early.
If it's the metal log, I could almost guarantee you'll hit an American record.
Yes.
If it's the wood log, I think you'll break the world record.
Yeah. Because realistically, for what the show calls for, I bet 220 is enough to win.
Yeah.
And 220 kilo would be the American record.
Yeah, it'd be 484 pounds. The current American record is
and change.
Yeah, it's 217.4 kilo.
Yeah.
This is the American record.
Yeah. So I have no doubt I can do that. But the one I want,
it's the world record.
I want the world record.
I genuinely hope he uses the Slater because one, it's just historical, right? It's now tied to the history of the sport when it comes to big weight.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we want to see the biggest weight.
And the current world record was on a Slater.
Yep.
It doesn't need to be standardized, but it's kind of cool.
It'd just be cool. And also,
and he's got a good relationship with Rogue. I don't see a good reason why not.
Yeah, I hope he chooses to use the Slater.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, put your thoughts down in the comments. I think we've babbled long enough.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope you like it.